How are you, Mr. Fox?
Fine.
Hey, I wanted just to give a debrief on our event and then also just verify on our funding and the partnership that we have for our event that we held. First and foremost, all good news as far as the event, as far as the facility, and as far as your staff. Anything that we asked for, accommodation-wise to help make the flow and do things, the staff was absolutely fabulous, and I don't think we asked for anything ridiculous. It was just good customer service, though, and I just wanted you to be aware of that. But there were several things, and I outlined them in the letter of that you were given. Just some things, though, that we are concerned, and I'm going to just jump to the very back of the recommendations for future that I'd like to just kind of highlight some of the things that we're concerned with. If you're going to use the facility that we use, the basketball court, as a gala, I think you're going to need to invest in some kind of covering around the facility, like pipe and drape that we had to rent, and also some window treatments for just a couple of the windows that don't have the closure on it, and then also for upstairs to separate any activity from upstairs from the people peeping through the windows and looking down on the event.
Okay.
We do have a one vendor one vendor that we used was very accommodating and has offered to partner with the city and store stuff. So if you guys have a storage problem, which I believe there is, that you would be able to have that that partnership to where you could own the items and they would store them and bring them on over. We do recommend that there's a dimmer switch to be installed on the lights that are permanent, so that there could be some ambiance in that room. Again, it's designed for a basketball court, and I get that. However, the city council prior was really promoting this, that it would be a venue that could host events for up to 500 or 600 people. We're going to scale that down, hopefully, but when you do that, you got to have some flexibility. So there are some things that should be looked at there.
The 500, 600, that was with tables?
Yeah, the 600, well, yeah, I don't know about the numbering from the city standpoint. We set for 500, we served 486 people at the banquet. We had room maybe for one or two more tables, but it was pretty tight in there. And I know that we had a stage, and we also had the large screens on the side. Any event that you would have that you would gather that many people for a sit-down meal, I would think you would still need a stage, and I think you would still have audio-visual of some kind. So you're going to need that space to be considered so that it's, I wouldn't want to say that it would be for 650 for a sit-down dinner.
Right.
You could possibly get that if you did the rectangular tables instead of the round tables, but not for like a dinner, a gala, where there's a centerpiece and then there's a lot of other stuff on the table. When we do the State of the City, when we did it up at Crossroads, we had taken rectangular tables, and we could fit more of those in a space. That also all needs to be worked out with the fire department to make sure that that's to code. The glass to be etched, I know since we had our event, they put in a beautiful frosted thing on the bottom part, but I think when you have older people my age, they're looking and they're walking straight, so there should be something eye level, maybe the decal or something, and that's up to you guys to do, but it's just a caution. As many times we told people the door's over here, they saw those glass things and the way it's laid out, and they thought they were walking into a doorway that would open up.
I understand that.
So just as a safety standpoint. The large cost that we had from the rental fee is the amount per hour that we pay or that someone should pay. And I understand from our last meeting that it was said that if someone rents the basketball court, they can use it for $50 an hour on a nonprofit rate or a discounted rate for 2 hours, I think it is. We were charged $150 because the thought process was to convert the room over it's easier just to allow kids to come in and out all day long. They don't have to do anything with the basketball court. And I agree. But once the room is set up, it doesn't cost staff any more time per hour to do anything except that you've got that whole room already set up. Does that make sense?
Right, so it's
Okay.
basically 200 to set it up, is that what we're?
I don't know. Whatever you guys come up with, this is just recommendations for you guys of what
Sure.
to just look at it so that if you want this as a event facility to be competitive with the other markets that are out there, one thing you've got more than anyone else right now, we proved that you could have 500 people for an event. Eagle Glen doesn't have that, and neither does Green River.
How many does Eagle Glen hold?
So depending on how you lay things out, but it could be 424 is the fire code
Okay.
up there, but that's very tight. And then again, those are with rectangular tables.
Okay.
The city owns 60-inch round tables, and and those are great size tables for 8 to a table. We had 10 at a table, and so we had to rent the 72-inch. If we would have gone with 60-inch, we would have had to rent more 60-inch, but we would have had more tables than what we could have fit in there to get the 500 people. So we were forced with that process as well as getting chairs that would match. Again, I know that long-term, I believe you're looking at getting more tables and chairs, and that rental company would be glad to store them for you and be able to deliver those. Depending on the layout of the event, a luncheon is less formal, just like if we are going to do a State of the City luncheon there. We could use rectangular tables that seat 8 to 10 people because there's no centerpiece. So if a company wanted to use that facility down there, you could probably get more than 500 in there for some kind of a luncheon. But again, that should be worked out with the fire department. We could assist and we encourage you to meet with various vendors to secure a couple of kind of like preferred vendors that when someone does rent the facility, they already know all the details so that the city staff doesn't have to worry about certain aspects, but they could, the vendors could say, this is package A, B, and C, and that way for rental purposes and stuff. The sad news is the kitchen that is there is just not for cooking. It is really a prep room, and if you're gonna have something in the basketball court area that warrants and has more than 300 people, the kitchen is not positioned properly and or not the right stuff there unless you're gonna do all cold product. There's no cooking, so which then means that you have to have a separate kitchen that we brought in that was cooked, everything was cooked outside, on grills outside. Our recommendation would be if someone is using the large basketball court area as an event, that you do not book anything in the other facility. I think it would just be, it would take away from, one event will take away from the other, and I don't think that you've got the other ancillary facilities to take care of what is needed. And again, these are just recommendations.
Sure.
As I stated before, in order for us to have our event, we had to pay for a tent to have a kitchen set up. If we would have had this up at Eagle Glen or over at Green River, we couldn't have had as many people. We get that. But we wouldn't have had to pay for the kitchen, wouldn't have to get the city fire department, which they were great and came out and got the permit. Just a lot of additional costs. Tables and chairs, all that comes with those facilities. If we would have held it up at Crossroads Church, we would have had the cost of those things, but that's why we wouldn't do it. At Crossroads, they wouldn't allow beer and wine. At your facility, you do. So there's some pluses there. And I'd just like to say that we would recommend that maybe the city consider one weekend a month for the first year before you start getting crazy with all these people that want to book the facility with leagues and stuff. If you want to go down that road of renting this out as an event facility, block out from that Wednesday let's just say the third weekend of the month, that Wednesday they put down the carpeting, and it's available then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now you don't have all the costs for your labor of setting it up. Your staff has laid it down one time. The pipe and drape would be a standard color and it's set, and that's your package. If all of a sudden you call up and you say, gosh, I want the facility and I need it on the second Saturday, and the city says, wow, we can work that out, but now the cost is so much more because you have to take care of the entire cost of getting the room set up. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Okay. So that's kind of the recap. All the other stuff that I had mentioned in here was just things that worked well, and I just wanted to really touch on the recommendations of the going forward. And at the last meeting, it was put onto this agenda to request the monies back because we'd asked if we could use the smaller banquet room for a pre-setup, which worked extremely well for our caterers. And they were able to set up all the salads and the desserts. I will say that our caterers did a tremendous job on cleaning up and making sure everything was perfect. When they left, they even took their own garbage back, and they had enough staff there. It was, well, you were there, you saw what was going on. So, but we are asking for reimbursements back. There are 4 things that I would like to just touch on: the fire permit, the rental for the one room of the small banquet rooms, the tent for the fire department for the cooking, as well as the tables and chairs. And with that is the pipe and drape.
And how does that break down as far as cost or what?
I'm glad that you asked that.
Excuse me, the banquet room is $1,375, and the fire department permits are $290 for a total of $1,665.
So the tables retailed out at $500, but they gave a $100 discount, so it's $400. The chairs were $1,500, $300 discount, $1,200. Pipe and drape $1,980, $396 discount for $1,584. Half of the uplights, because we would have used uplights on the stage only, and that's $1,050. Half of that was $750. The discount was $105, so $645. Skirts for the staging $74, less $1,480, so it's $59.20, and clips for that, which netted at $1,600 total for those items. Along with those items, there's $3,900, $4.20, and then the tent for the cooking was another $1,609. Total of that would be $5,513.20. So that's what I'm asking for on top of those other numbers that Mary was able to provide you.
Okay, that's on top of those numbers? Or
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mary, you were talking, the total was again?
The $1,665 covers the banquet room and the fire department permits, and that can be covered under the unallocated co-sponsorship funding.
Okay.
This is a good news, bad news story. The good news is you can increase your sponsorship to include the in-kind donation, the fire permit, and the room rental. The request for compensation for additional stuff and tent falls outside of the current policy. So you would have to go back to council to amend the policy to allow cash contributions as well as in-kind contributions. So for today, you can clear the $1,675 as an in-kind increase, and there's an allocated budget that would allow that. The other balance, if it's the council, if it's community, you have to send it back to council.
Right.
To review a policy adjustment.
Okay. I mean, I think that's what it is, what I would want to do and recommend. So, I mean, I've thought about this for a while, so, I think we'll go ahead with that.
So you want us to increase the sponsorship $1,675. You want to make a request of council to amend the nonprofit policy to include cash contributions.
Well, yeah, I want to bring that to them, because we haven't done that before, is that correct? I mean,
We established a policy for in-kind donations of nonprofits when they want to use spaces, get water, that kind of stuff, permitting. But we've not ever ventured into opening the door to giving cash contributions
Right.
to nonprofits. So why don't we do this? Let's schedule it first for the next committee, because we need to do some staff research on if that's even a legal possibility. We'll bring it back to you, because it'll be outside of the chamber, so we're gonna conclude the chamber dialogue as it relates to nonprofit contributions and have a dialogue about that for all nonprofits, so that we'll have both committee members here. And pending the outcome of that, and going to council, if the chamber wanted to revisit it at a later date, that would be fine. So we'll check and make sure Karen can participate in that, since it's no longer about the chamber.
Right.
Or not, and bring back research and some details on what the policy would look like.
Okay.
So for you today, the 1675 will be increased. Mary will take care of that.
Thank you.
And we'll reimburse, because you did have to pay for that because of timing. At the next committee meeting, Mary and Sylvia will bring back some research on what the policy would look like if it's possible, some sample language for you and maybe Karen to
Right.
review, and we'll go to council after that.
Right, and that, yeah, I want to make clear that's not a recommendation, I just want further information for that, so.
You got it.
As far as any of the recommendations he brought up, David, do you have any comments on that? Thanks, he.
Well, the changing the glass, we can go back and look at putting sort of an eye level stripe that would match what's upstairs. That's an easy fix. But we found that was kind of true of patrons even walking through the main entry. If there was nothing as a barrier there, it was easy for them to do that, which was why we frosted, I think, the lower 3 feet
Right.
of the glass.
And
So
it looks really
look at
good.
that. Yeah, it does. It's very classy looking. So we'll look at that. In terms of dimmer switches, you can't do that on gym lighting. So we're looking at other alternatives, but that's obviously there'd be some costs associated with that, but that's certainly something that we can evaluate. In terms of the costs of the facility, given the amount of time that it actually is required to set up and take it down, there would be little difference between the hourly cost and just lump summing that.
Okay.
So that doesn't make much difference, but we are actually currently doing a survey on the price of basketball gymnasiums. My view is the $50 per hour actually is on the low end, so we'll reevaluate that. But the $150 used for the event hall actually is a very fair price,
Okay.
even compared to what's local.
Okay, good.
So again, it's just, do you charge them at the front end or you
Right.
charge them as you go along? At the bottom line, I don't think it really makes that big a
Sure.
difference,
Okay.
because it is very work intensive. The issue, the kitchen, it was never designed to be a full-service kitchen, so it is what it is. It's what they refer to as a catering kitchen, whereas a caterer will bring in their goods and they'll serve from that facility. It's not really for hot food preparation and all. It's not big enough, the facilities aren't there. So unless you structurally change that, it is kind of what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Then the 2 banquet use, we're looking at that as well. The primary concern there is if you have 500 people in one event, 300 in another, that would be an enormous burden on parking. Not sure that that exists. So we're definitely looking at what's going to make sense programmatically. And then finally, the idea of sort of hanging on a select weekend out of a month. I think from our customer service perspective, it's pretty limiting to tell people you've really got 3 options in terms of where you pay big money. At this point, we're sort of proceeding with seeing what the community's needs are. It's a community center after all. And we'll sort of evaluate that over time.
Sure.
And again, we've built the cost of setting it up into the hourly costs, so that's not really a big deal. And again, it's really about trying to serve the community the best that we can. Most people are not going to use Thursday nights. Fewer folks are going to use Friday nights. So Saturday's going to be the bulk of time, and we really don't want to say you get 52 shots at that a year. So again, we'll evaluate that, but just in terms of customer service orientation, we want people to be able to use it as often as possible.
Okay.
So, but no, we appreciated working with the chamber. We thought it was a terrific event. It looked spectacular when they were finished. They radically transformed the appearance of the event hall, and I think it was a terrific partnership.
Thank you. I did get one complaint today that we didn't have sodas, so that was the only complaint, so.
And you were the guinea pigs, and that's why, I think we're all open to.
Correct.
Doing this one time, so, but no, it was good. It was a tremendous event, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Lana, you got something person to say?
I will defer to my director, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, David, for those points you made there. And it is true, we want to, it is what's going to service community at the brand new facility, so we'll be learning. Good. All right.